Overwatch Apex Season 3, energized by Hot 6, Round Robin. Today's matchup, CONBOX Spirit, Flash Lux.
It's time for another evening of Overwatch Apex Season 3 here at OGN. My name is Wolf. With me is Achilles tonight. We have two teams from Group C that are towards the bottom of the barrel. They both come with one loss attached to them here, so winning this matchup is going to be very important, of course. Starting things off with CONBOX Spirit versus Flash Lux.
Yeah, and I mean, we say it's going to be the bottom of the barrel. Third place going up against fourth, with Flash Lux sitting at the very bottom of the group. But even then, it's not as close as that might make it to seem. Flash Lux having a pretty abysmal performance in their debut back into Apex Season 3 versus MVP Space, getting 3-0'd by them, and pretty much, kind of calming everybody down. They looked pretty good coming out of the promotion tournament. Thought maybe they would be competitive against the likes of MVP Space, but it was a complete wash for them. They got absolutely stomped out. They could not hold up against the DPS members of MVP Space, even with the likes of Fleta and Vale on their team. Two players that people are like, man, you guys could use some better opportunities at this moment, because Flash Lux still yet again looks like they might just be ending up back into the promotion tournament.
They seem to be kind of yo-yoing their way back in and out of the Apex, dropping down to promotions and requalifying repeatedly. I feel like the story of that matchup is really Space's improvement and Flash Lux's stagnation. In the time that we had between promotions and now, of course, Season 3. As when you go into a promotions tournament, obviously you're showing a lot of your strategies, you're showing a lot of your styles repeatedly in a very short period of time, whereas in a tournament format like OGN here, you have a longer group stage. You play in this group for several weeks, and you have a lot of time to change your strategy. So as we talked about, CONBOX Spirits and Flash Lux both with one loss, but it was a -2 and -3 indicator for both these teams, so not a close group, especially not for Flash Lux.
Yeah, they're just very comfortably, sitting at the bottom at the moment. Getting a win against CONBOX Spirit, or even taking a couple maps off them, would, somewhat keep their hopes alive. But that would have very much set up MVP Space, that if they could find a victory versus CONBOX to take that second place spot. LW Blue currently sitting nice and pretty at the top of the standings. Double 3-1 victories for them gives them that +4 scoreline. And a bit of closeness going throughout the other groups, as we'll see, Group D here today with Envious, who currently rest in first place, but they've only played that one match. It was a reverse sweep for them against Meta Athena, which does tie them up. But after today, they'll either be in firm control over first place, or they might even find themselves below the likes of BK Stars.
And that's why it's so important to keep in mind, too, that they beat the toughest team in that group in Meta Athena with a huge upset with a reverse sweep. Don't forget, of course, on Friday, Lunatic High will face off against Rogue, and that's super important match for if you're a Western fan. A lot of people were cheering for Rogue going into the season, favoring them even over Envious, but they had a tough group. And that matchup is going to be really sick on Friday, so don't miss it. But today's matchups, we could have two fairly one-sided matches. CONBOX Spirit heavily favored over Flash Lux, and of course later on this evening with Envious's really amazing performance, that comeback against Meta Athena, they're highly favored over Rhinos Gaming Wings, who's also down at the bottom of Group D.
Yeah, and I mean, Rhinos, I feel like they have the potential to take a map off of Envy compared to the likes of Flash Lux taking a map off of CONBOX Spirit. Still going to be a bit unlikely, but they're the team that has actually shown some of the more crazy things. That's what we looked for from Meta Athena last season. I mean, you think about that Dorado wraparound that we saw from them using the Mei Ice Wall. Really innovative strats. Not quite as innovative, I would say, from the side of Rhinos Gaming, but unexpected, bringing out the quad DPS on attack on Volskaya, able to finally pick up, one win, making sure they didn't lose in an 0-3. So at least picking up that one map win, and then running the Torbjorn throughout Volskaya as well on defense. So, they've been trying out a couple different things there. They did find success with that. So I feel like if they could throw a curveball like that against Envious and they're not really prepared for it, then maybe we see them pick up a map. But otherwise, like you said, very one-sided.
Yeah, and I don't want to tell the story of this. Tonight's matches are going to be super one-sided. They're not going to be interesting, because that could obviously just be the opposite case, because we saw Envious was super underdog going into Meta Athena. They went down 0-2, and I was reading the comments online. I was seeing what people were saying, and everyone had already written them off. They turned off the stream, but the comeback happened. And
I had faith. I tweeted that the reverse sweep was going to come through. I
Yeah,
told
I saw
MV,
your
I was
tweet.
like, it's time for it. And lo and behold, it did happen.
they should praise you. It was your tweet that saved them.
It was my blessing. That's really what it was. It enabled them to win.
Well, let's see how well these underdog teams can do today. Would love to have that underdog story here. For CONBOX Spirit, I think they're a lot more famous, a lot more favored in both the Western side of things and here in Seoul, as we have an Effect fan in here as well as CONBOX and Envious together. So just want to say again, though, if CONBOX ends up losing this match, it would be a pretty big upset, but
that's
it
neat.
also really hurt their chances of getting out of the group. So very important for both teams here in this Group C match.
Those are both good looking. The
Yeah.
Widowmaker and the Reaper. Very nicely
Gamsu fan. Gamsu, I like you.
done. Is that what it said?
Yeah.
All right. Well, being very straightforward
Yeah.
here are the fans today.
Well,
but-
more like I like Gamsu, and a fan of course, our Korean commentator and analyst over on the other side here. So a lot of fans down here in the studio, and the atmosphere is pretty hyped, especially for this first matchup that isn't as hyped as the second. But you can tell the Envious fans are already shuffling in. It's still very early. People getting off school, getting off work. They got their tickets, and
Yeah.
they're going to shuffle into the studio. For those of you guys who want to come down, people tweet at this all the time. Tweet this at us all the time. Go to the ticketlink.co.kr link to reserve your tickets, because if you don't want to come down here and just pick them up, you're pretty unlikely to get them. It packs, basically Apex sells out in moments.
I mean, the tickets are, about $3 each, $4 each, something like that. So they do sell out rather quickly. But let's talk about the teams. Let's go ahead and hear from these
손보라
guys.
전략 자체가 압도적으로 파괴를 당했고 휘둘리다가 정말 끝났기 때문에 스타일의 변화 이런 것들을 좀 추구할 필요가 있지 않나라는 생각이 드네요.
상대가 템포가 빠른데 저희도 더 빠르게 가다 보니까 그 부분에서 저희가 많이 흔들렸던 것 같아요. LW 블루잠만 이기면 쉽게 8강 갈 수 있을 거라 생각했는데 조금 위험하지만 2등으로 8강 올라가겠습니다.
파라전에서도 사실 플레타 선수가 압도한 것도 아니었고
확실한 컨셉을 정해와야 돼요. 지난번 승강전에서도 좀 허둥지둥거렸었는데 이번에 어떤 모습일지 보겠습니다.
데일리 선수가 디바를 되게 잘하기로 소문나 있어서 파라를 많이 연습을 안 했는데 역으로 파라를 들고 오더라고요. 자기 플레이만 하고 소통이 안 됐어요. 저희도 컨셉을 계속 찾으려고 연습 중인데 그게 쉽게 안 만들어지더라고요. 고전할 것 같아요.
플래시 러스트는 라인하르트 쓰는 전략은 강한데 돌진 조합이나 변칙 메타에는 약한 것 같아요. 3탱 메타를 들고 오면 그냥 뚫을 수 있을 것 같아요. 3대 1 이상을 봅니다.
3대2 전략적인 부분에서 말 밀릴 수 있지만 콤박스 딜러진에 비해 피지컬로는 오히려 저희가 더 뛰어나다고 생각하기 때문에 저희가 이길 거라고 예상하고 있어요. 콤보라스는 3대1을 대처하는 방법 연습하는 게 가장 관건일 것 같아요. 형들 나도 열심히 하고 있으니까 다 같이 더 연습 많이 해서 8강 한번 가보자.
스피릿 팬분들 정말 감사하고요. 이번 시즌 열심히 해서 결승전 꼭 가겠습니다. 화이팅!
There you have it. Words on both sides exchange. I feel like a lot of it was very true in terms of Flashlights, talking about how CONBOX seemed to be ahead in terms of the meta. We saw Sombra really kind of made by this team viable, made more meta. Twilight bringing it out on control point maps, as well as even on Oasis, and the rest of the team slowly adapting that. Now we even see it in the West, and they basically changed the meta, and that's something that Flashlights was never, of course, able to do. This team is just kind of leading the charge in terms of how we change and approach the new advanced meta, the triple DPS.
Yeah, I mean, Twilight bringing out the Sombra on Oasis on University, that was like the first time that we'd really seen Sombra utilized so crucially, getting those EMPs, basically every like 25 seconds or so. And that really impresses here in Korea. And since then, it has really grown in popularity. So them during that promotion tournament certainly kind of setting the stage as far as that meta goes around Sombra. But Flashlight saying, we need to learn how to practice against a triple DPS, especially when Sombra is in the mix, because that EMP can be so game-changing. So it seems like they have been putting in that time during these last couple weeks that they've had to gather themselves after that loss against MVP Space to try to find their groove as they said, or find their theme, is they phrased it there from Fleta during that interview.
Sure, and Flashlucks, you have to keep in mind too, in terms of mechanical stars, Vale is up there, but I feel like neither he nor Fleta stack up to the likes of Architect on the side of CONBOX Spirit. Architect's Genji is far superior, and he's honed in on a smaller hero pool than Fleta's, for example. Fleta played a lot more Pharaoh, and Pharaoh was less meta, but now that's really common. And for a long time, it was really cool that Fleta could pull out the Pharaoh. Then Rascal did it, and then everybody was doing it. And then suddenly it felt less of a novelty. It felt less of a tricky move you could pull off, and more of a, okay, this is standard now. And you've got to up your accuracy, you've got to up your mechanics if you want to compete with everyone else who's also increased their hero pools. So Flashlucks, I feel like, definitely had that trick up their sleeve in terms of Fleta, but it doesn't feel as much of an asset as more of a liability these days.
Yeah, I mean, we saw that in their match versus MVP Space. I mean, Fleta and Vale both, proved themselves to be very strong in the promotion tournament, making their way back into Season 3. But then actually the roster shuffles coming through for MVP Space, kind of shifted everything. Suddenly having Yaki and One Fact in for Space, they completely outskilled Fleta and Vale during that matchup. So now they have to have a much stronger performance here if they are going to go up against the likes of Architect and Asher here today. I mean, Asher, having some embarrassing moments in their series versus LW Blue, trying to out-widow Pine, certainly not something you should do, but if you put him on something a bit more standard, not trying to mirror match one of the best Widowmakers that we have in Korea, then he certainly can excel. So, gonna still have to look to see good performances from all four of these DPS, because basically whoever wins out in this regard is probably going to take the set.
Yeah, and I think with Asher and Vale, if you compare them directly, I think that's a pretty direct comparison. They're actually very similar in terms of their skill, their flanking ability on Tracer.
And obviously their champion, or the hero pool as well.
Yeah, I mean, as you can see here, it's mirrored. But Architect definitely the better Genji when you compare it to Fleta, and it almost just feels like that's because Fleta plays too many heroes and practices and prepares for too many different types of compositions, whereas CONBOX has a theme and they roll with it. As you can see, Wiso will occasionally flex onto the Soldier here as well as Sleeping Bear. Don't forget that Gamsu's played only Winston this entire tournament. He has not flexed at all into the Reinhardt.
And why would you, really?
Yeah. And one other thing is that Sleeping Bear is also a very good Roadhog when that becomes appropriate. We see that a lot on Dorado, for example, so that's something to keep in mind is we don't see a lot of Roadhogs these days. They get sneaked into composition very briefly sometimes, but Sleeping Bear will be the guy to pull it out.
Yeah, I mean, every now and then you want to tack it onto the end, that triple tank composition, the Roadhog comes in. It's kind of a half and half, he offers up quite a bit of damage as long as you're landing those hooks. So very well could see that come out. Zarya is also something that's, kind of, moved to the edge of the meta at the moment, but we still see it very strong from the likes of Hoon. So still are those picks that we could see come through, but right now it seems like the meta is pretty clearly defined, and then you just have these, minor moments where you can swap something else in. You get to a choke point, that's when the Reinhardt comes out, that sort of thing. Very situational picks that you can come through with. But for the start of the game, we're usually seeing a very standard meta across the board for most of these teams.
And Kisu, just because we had him up on screen there, has been heavily criticized for his positioning on the Ana and the Zenyatta. That's going to be something that Asher is going to look to punish, as we are going to Ilios for our control map for this first best of 5.
Going to kick things off here. See how they fare. CONBOX Spirit in their set earlier on. This was the only set that they had won, was actually that King of the Hill map style. They picked up that 2-0 victory over LW Blue and then lost everything else after that. So, they've shown that they have some prowess when it comes down to those control points. Let's see if they're able to find success here. Open up with a victory over Flashlucks, or Flashlucks will surprise us and find a win. Their first map win for Apex Season 3.
Excited to very likely see Asher and Fleta on the bar going into this map as well. Just using to win that battle out. The Mercies as well, who's going to get those better reses, as getting that first control capture is so important on this map. But it looks like, ladies and gentlemen, our first game is ready. The players are in the lobby. And in just a moment's time, we're going to go into our first map, Ilios, CONBOX Spirit versus Flashlucks here for game number 1.
right, so fans showing up here on a rainy Tuesday afternoon. Still, 7 p.m. here, 7:15, so might have some other people filter in for that second set, even here in the stadium. Some could say that it is the envious waiting room, perhaps.
Sure. Well, it's weather's nice on Ilios. That's all I'm saying. So.
Yeah, wish I was there right now. Well, I mean, I do enjoy casting alongside.
Well, one day, man, we'll be in the game. We'll have VR. We'll be floating on a pedestal outside of the battleground, giving commentary just above the stage.
So what we need is actually for the Overwatch League is to take a tour to every location for these maps.
That would be
Just
pretty amazing.
Theme a stadium after each of them. That'd be pretty fantastic.
Got to go to Hanamura during the cherry blossoms. So as much as Gamsu was teasing on the Arisa, and we'd love to see that, we're not going to be seeing it here on Lighthouse. So there are a few ways you could get booped off the side there.
Yeah, they'll still deprive us of that one, but for now the side of Flash Luck's just going to be going with that 2-2-2. Kisu knocking on that Zenyatta thus far. If you're playing forward, we'll have to burn out the recall already. Backs off to make sure that he keeps himself safe and away from Vale on the other side of things.
Yep, CONBOX just going to cut the deep out, going to be triple DPSing, more Korean style. It's the new meta as we see this 1v1, and it's going to be won by Asher.
And comes up with that one. So a 1-for-1 so far as they start getting in onto the point. They're going to try to contest this as Gamsu jumps in. Almost the cap coming through for Flash Lux, and with him kiting out, they do get that first take coming through. Triple DPS here from CONBOX with Sleepy Bear coming through on the Soldier, operating on the high ground. Almost takes out Kisu, can't quite finish him off at the moment.
They had a good position, but they couldn't actually take it. They're going to need to take it soon, or they're going to find themselves in a tough spot. Just taking that first cap is so important, because you can actually delay for so long to build up ults.
Oh, Modern, he goes low, does get taken out at the end, but left up into the air, being Sleepy Bear could not find that killing blow. Virtue taking out Fleta. As they start poking back in, looking for this cap. They nearly have it at the moment. It's only 26% accrued for the side of Flash Lux. They tried to delay a little bit more. Vale too late to get in onto the point to stop this one from going through. So it does get handed over. The first swap coming through as CONBOX take control. And
you could
both sides, a lot of ultimates to use.
You can already see the difference in terms of Tracer play between Asher and Vale. It's just better for Asher, and Sleepy Bear was given so much room to work with there on the high ground. So they let the cap go initially, but because he was in such good position, they felt comfortable to re-engage, and only losing 27%.
So not too bad. They're about to match that one right now, and still have 4 ultimates available to defend this one with 5 and 6 very shortly on the way as Architect nearly has that Dragon Blade ready to go. Sound Barrier in the meantime popped out by Flash Lux. They pick up 2 swift kills. Both supports on the side of CONBOX have been taken out as Fleta dashed his way through Oporochi. Find a little bit more there with that Dragon Blade usage, but won't come up with too much.
See if Architect meets his Dragon Blade here. Not going to drop it, not necessary in fact. They do reflip, but they want to actually join this together with Architect and Twilight probably for the combo with Transcendence.
They just want to make sure that they have both of their supports there. So, losing out on Twilight and Oporochi right off the start just means, we'll go ahead and hand this over. It'll be a very short flip, 44%, all that they were able to get for themselves. And yet again, going to be tied up here as they start to go back in. But still, plenty of tools to be used here from the side of CONBOX Spirit to try to retake this point. But if it falls short, then maybe Flash Lux do come up with that hold. They're having to use that recall. Modern comes up onto the high ground, trying to threaten out that Tracer. Having the recall anymore means that he's pretty vulnerable. Get the Primal Rage pop from both sides. Modern trying to find the Zenyatta, trying to knock him off the map. Can he get him? He pops the Transcendence, trying to keep himself alive inside the point. As they start to go for that retake. Still ticking up here is the side of Flash Lux, 70% of the clock, and that's going to be Sound Barrier coming down here for CONBOX Spirit. They just start piling in, desperately trying to get this retake. The clock ticking higher up here for Flash Lux, but now the kills starting to come through. 3 dead on the side of Flash Lux, only Twilight going down. They find Modern. Just need one more tank to be taken out. Self-destruct tossed out by Wiso, not going to find much, just desperately trying to buy time. As they get closer and closer towards that overtime, he'll get popped out of the back yet again, should be taken down. That should be a retake from the side of CONBOX Spirit.
Pretty expensive for Flash Lux, everything they used there. I mean, quite literally everything they had was used, starting off with the Primal Rage, but as you can see, it was more cost efficient in terms of CONBOX Spirit. They had Architect, they lost him early, which is why they had to use more ults than they would have necessarily had to use, but they didn't use all of them. He's got the Dragon Blade available, and they're going to wait for another one of these big support ultimates, the Transcendence or the Sound Barrier, to use that to secure this last tick. That's the plan here. Only Fleta with the Dragon Blade, nothing to pair units. We'll have that Sound Barrier soon.
Get that swiftly, that'd be a big one for him. Nice dash through there, does find Sleepy Bear. In the meantime, point is getting taken. Nearly re-grabbed here from the side of Flash Lux. Dragon Blade comes through, but he just gets taken out. Yeah, the boop comes down. Twilight does fall, but Oporochi is still standing strong for his squad. Numbers do go down as Gamsu gets taken out by Kisu. The recap has come through. Flash Lux now forcing into overtime. 99% here. as CONBOX Spirit has to pile into the point. The poop off there coming through onto Asher means that he can't make it back in. Can't be that massive delay tactic for his squad.
Architect buying so much time, though, and getting so many kills as well. Incredible, he was able to do that basically alone.
Yeah, and because of that, that means that Modern just has to back off, even with the Primal Rage, doesn't want to stick in any longer. They hand this back over. It's 15% left for CONBOX Spirit, but only have the sound barrier for them. There's going to be a Transcendence up for Flash Lux, so double support ultimates on either side.
Yeah, there's going to be the Primal Rage for Gamsu as well to actually help zone. Good position here already from Sleepy Bears. Uncontested at the moment. Could actually get an attack visor for this last hold. Now finally the Tracer comes up to harass him. Not shown on screen.
Overtime coming through. Pulse Bomb ready for Vale. Hasn't tossed it out yet. Looking for a tanky member. You can see that. Primal Rage wins, and even with the Discord Orb, not quite as juicy of a target for him. Twilight gets picked off though, but Kisu gets answered for by Asher. Comes up with a double kill. Pulse Bomb thrown down by Vale, straight inside to the point, but doesn't find much for it. And Flash Lux are just getting ripped apart. Wiso tossing out that self-destruct yet again.
Asher
does find a kill in
down.
onto Asher, but they need much more than that. The respawn's finally coming through as they start piling back in toward the point, trying to delay as long as they possibly can, but they cannot get it. They get booped out. They get taken down. And the first point, Lighthouse, goes over to CONBOX.
Now we had some really incredible Dragon Blades coming out from Architect, and Fleta had that one that was shut down immediately. It looked like Oporochius got a bunch of headshots there, and they targeted it down the second he popped it. But that one Dragon Blade where we had Architect basically just sitting on top of the Lighthouse and just jumped down after the Diva was knocked out of the mech and just came in there. There was no one to contest him, and he got several kills. That gave them the pretty easy flip. And it was funny because, in a way, a lot of the time, CONBOX Spirit, they're about to pop their ultimate. Sleepy Bears got Tac Visor on the high ground. He was killed several times before he could use it, which at first looked unfortunate, but then they were able to take the point anyways, and then he had it available for the next push. Architect several times, Sleepy Bear as well. So, kind of a funny way that worked out for them. Just ended up winning a lot of fights, even down members, down ultimates.
Now we swap over here to Well. So seems like going to have a couple swap ups coming through as CONBOX Spirit come through with that double tank. So just a 2-2-2 as Sleepy Bear moves over onto the Diva. Pretty much going to be matched on the side here from Flash Lux, but still operating with Kisu in onto the Zenyatta. So that's going to be really the only difference that we have as Twilight comes through on that Ana this time around.
Kisu the target once again here for Architect. Not able to get it immediately here. Nice reflect. He almost got that right through the doorway. That was a close call. He said sorry to the fans until that spray said, but damn, that was pretty impressive. Just hunting down the Zenyatta.
Yeah, almost takes him out. One more orb on that deflect and he would have had him taken out yet again. Still just working down Kisu as much as he possibly can from range. A couple kills coming through.
The prediction on the recall too!
Yeah,
that was incredible!
That's straight through and find Vale takes him out. That's going to be two members down inside of Flash Lux, which means CONBOX can go ahead, posture forward in onto the point. They'll get this first cap coming through for them.
Well, let's talk about how important it is to take the first cap. Last time they gave it up without a hooch, but they had the positional advantage to retake immediately. Now they can spend so much time. There's so many tools when you have the defense to keep that overtime going, get that 99%, so you usually have the ult lead, and then you can build up 6 and retake for the last cap of the map. So Flash Lux really unfortunate they lost this easily. They don't have a contest at the moment. If it goes 99, that's a big problem.
Yeah, even getting the first blood kill onto Asher just was not enough for them. Meantime, though, Kisu pops that Transcendence, and Architect goes down. Vale poking in from the sidelines, trying to get in on Oporochi. Finds a Pulse Bomb coming down, doesn't get the stick, so will not finish off Twilight. They get taken down by Modern on the backside of the fight anyway, but they still hold on to the point, even with the kill exchanges coming through. Winston fight coming down, the bubble is there, and Modern taking a lot of damage, feels the pressure, has to pop that Primal Rage to try to keep himself alive.
Ooh, Wiso loses his mech from that self-destruct though, and Gamsu actually props his Primal Rage much later, much more carefully, as he had the support there. Looks for the pick on the Vale, he fails to get it, but he's doing so much damage right now, and Architect is just cleaning up the pieces.
I mean, not only that, but he's also delaying so well. Look how close Flash Lux was for that cap, but they still don't come through it. In the meantime now, Architect popping that Dragon Blade, looking for a kill in on Uda's, dashes for it, has that final slash. They take him out, a near wipe on the side of Flash Lux, and CONBOX Spirit holds firm on the point, 70% on the horizon for them, maybe even just 100% at this rate.
And with those delayed respawns coming out from Flash Lux, this almost feels like it's a 99 no matter what. Even if Flash Lux pops everything to take it, CONBOX can just save up for the 6 and do the one retake. That's why getting that 99%, winning that first cap is so important. They've consistently been able to hold it more efficiently. Gamsu just a better Winston. Look at that, another pick onto Kisu. This has been a liability for Flash Lux. We talked about it from the beginning, and once again, Asher is just finding and picking him off. Architect too, chasing him down.
He does get taken low, so he has to kite back out of there, but that's going to be the sound barrier from both sides, and Fleta, even with that, gets taken out immediately with the Dragon Blade drawn out, doesn't get a damn thing done, and he will fall self-destruct, gets tossed, not going to find much, actually finds two!
It's almost
like
as
the
if he didn't
barrier was
know.
there, but it didn't get, went down in time, I believe, so actually Weasel comes up with a double kill. Thought for sure that that one was going to get mitigated by the Winston, but with those picks coming through, crucially, the retake comes through for Flashlux as they keep their hopes alive 5% now.
Sure.
To the 99 of CONBOX.
But they still have a mountain to climb. They have 90% left they're going to have to build, and that 6 ult push I was talking about, CONBOX is building it. OVERWATCH did use that sound barrier to try to secure the defense. It failed, so that's the one that they don't have, but everything else is going to be ready very soon. In fact, we'll probably see a pulse bomb dropped even before then because you can build this so quickly. If they knock Weasel out of the fight, they'll probably commit. That's exactly what Asher is looking for right now, is harassing the D.Va or looking for one of the supports. Going to find both here actually together with Architect.
Hasn't tossed it out yet, knows that the D.Va is right there with the defense matrix to try to absorb it, tosses it out in the end,
Oh,
finds
the
the
double.
double kill. Unis and Kisu both go down. Beautiful, just play coming through there from the side of Asher. Very patiently comes up with those kills, but Fleta has something to say for it. Pops out Sleeping Bear, takes him down with a mech as that nano boost comes through in onto Gamsu.
Man, remember again, Gamsu not having to use this because he had nano boost. He didn't actually need this primal rage, so he's got it saved. Architect's going to pop Weasel out. That was such a great pulse bomb. May win them this round. OVERWATCH gets picked here, but it looks like there's nothing they can do. Here's the recap coming in. Overtime ticking down.
That's still 4 dead, waiting for the respawns. Fleta and Weasel the only ones that can try to delay this one as they pile in, but Fleta already falls. Weasel, can he get there in time? Is going to be a question. Try to fly his way back in, but won't be able to reach it. So that's just going to be a very swift 2-0 on Ilios as CONBOX pick up map number 1.
Not only did he have an understanding of the timing of the defense matrix there with the double pulse bomb, but he actually came in and threw it at such an angle where the D.Va was looking away. It was so beautifully done. And, you know, it's funny to think that the Tracer could actually sometimes pick off the D.Va, drop the D.Va out of the mech, but also looking for those supports, forces the D.Va back, which means that the D.Va's no longer protecting anyone but the supports. Then you've got Architect flying around killing the DPSs. Gamsu gets that nano onto him, and then with the nano boost, you're just doing so much damage. You'll need the Primal Rage, and consistently, we saw Gamsu popping it later than what we saw from Modern. Then he had it up so he could actually secure the fight. Sometimes didn't even end up needing it at all. So, just a better team fighting team so far out of CONBOX, and sometimes they mess up their pairings of their ultimates, but just in terms of mechanics, I feel like that's the issue for Flashlux, and I feel like Eunice is never able to do anything because no one is protecting him, and they're already going to pop their tactical pause here, Achilleos.
Yeah, they just want to go ahead and burn this one out, go ahead and collect themselves because they got really stomped out there on well. Honestly, I'd love to see a couple of replays from that game there, the double pulse bomb as well as that double self-destruct that we saw from Weasel. Really looked like that Winston bubble had been thrown down to absorb it, but still comes up with the double kill. So I kept Flashlux hope alive for a matter of moments there, but overall they do bottom out. And now it's time to call the pause. So 2.5 minutes remaining for these guys as they just get ready to prepare for hybrid.
There was a lot of discussion recently about, and this was on the competitive Overwatch subreddit, and it was because Runner and Lunatic High Coach were streaming and talking about the importance of Winston right now in this meta. And Gamsu finally has his time to shine because he's been a Winston main basically throughout his entire career. He's played a little bit of Reinhardt here and there, right? But Winston's always been his go-to hero now.
It's like a poor man's Amiro.
Exactly, yeah, he and Miro, man, and when you look at how well he was able to play this time and his understanding of when to hold the Primal Rage because he had those nano boosts, I think that was another thing that we didn't highlight too much, but he was really careful about making sure that he could get the maximum value out of every single Primal Rage, which gave him a huge lead in ultimates. Flashlock popped their ultimates early, the Dragon Blade would come out, the nano boost, and Gamsu's just like, oh, I'm just going to mitigate a lot of this damage with the nano boost as protection. I'm going to wait, save that Primal Rage. And some of the other things I noticed at CONBOX Spirit is every time Fleta popped his Dragon Blade, there was very little support given to him, and CONBOX Spirit targeted him down. There were several Dragon Blades we saw from Fleta that came out and were just immediately killed and mitigated. So I think for Flashlux, there's definitely some nerves going into this one, and perhaps that's what the coach is trying to get in there and tell them. On the side of CONBOX Spirit, though, it should be pretty much all smiles, as that was pretty textbook in terms of how to deal with Ilios.
Yeah, I mean, really for them, CONBOX, it's going to be about, just trying to predict what the next map is going to be from the likes of Flashlux as they get ready to move in, pick hybrid. Can technically decide if they want, what side they start on as opposed to the map, but more often than not, we do see the map coming through from the loser.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I'd say anything but Kings Row. Flashlux, in their player profile, they say they like Kings Row more than any other map, but one of their worst maps in this tournament. They're 1-5 in recent history, so I'd say as much as you like it, you probably want to avoid Kings Row here, especially against CONBOX Spirit. It's shown such a good proclivity to dive, and that first defensive point when you're on defense for Flashlux, the CONBOX so practiced on the dive right now. Architect's the better Genji. You've got Gomsto on the Winston. You probably just want to avoid Kings Row. Take it somewhere else.
yeah, they suffered it, as a 2-2 loss at the hands of MVP Space when they did play earlier on in the season. So, I mean, it was at least a bit more competitive for Flashlux, but still not having that winning record as of late. Maybe they want to try something a little bit new, something that we don't see too often these days. Kind of like Eichenwald, which has not been one of the, the more popular maps. We've been seeing a hell of a lot of Nimbani as of late, especially coming through. So maybe they'll change things up. Maybe they want to just go ahead and keep it extremely standard. We're going to find out in just a couple seconds as that tactical pause is done. The coaches are out of the booths. And we'll finally find out what Flashlux's decision is.
I think it's actually pretty wise to use a tactical pause here with a team like Flashlux that seems so emotional and so momentum-based, especially when you look at their performance in the promotion tournament. You don't want to get too owed and just have a horrible game 3. Get in the booth early while the players are still fresh. You can bring them back to life. So we'll see what the plan is here. Going into our hybrid map, it's going to be...
Yeah, because I mean, they only have the tactical pause to really rely on. They don't have a substitute player, but okay, well,
they're going to go back to what feels familiar here.
Still going to do it. So, like I said, it was a 2-2 in that loss versus MVP Space. They still did not come up with the victory, but this is going to be comfortable territory for them.
It's the most commonly picked hybrid map, even with the rise of Numbani.
It's the most even as far as attack first, defend first. You see this, the statistic on the screen. It's pretty much 50-50 so far as the victor goes. So it's just going to be all about mechanical performance, which unfortunately means that Flashlux are not going to be at an advantage coming into this.
Yeah, I don't think so, especially with the dive comp that's so strong on attack on this map. CONBOX Spirit schooled him with it on the previous map. Can Flashlux turn it around? They've had their tactical pause. We go into their map choice, Kings Row, right here for game number 2.
So I was right. It's 50-50 across the board. I knew it was close.
50-50, man. Dead even. So, here we go, Kings Row.
Sleepy Bear, don't play with my emotions like this, man. You
Well,
know I want to see that Orisa.
We all want to see it. Gamsu teased it last time. I don't know if we're going to see... I just don't know if we're going to see the Lucio, Torbjorn, Tracer, Reinhardt, Orisa, Sombra comp or not, though, to be honest with you, Achilleos.
This seems pretty perfect to me. I don't know what you're talking about.
I mean, you could see it, right? I mean, imagine hacks plus double shields of the Ryan
See,
and the
this is the
Orisa.
new strategy. You actually build your turret all the way back by point B, and then they're just not ready for it. You just hide the Torbjorn the entire time, make them think that they're playing in a 6v5. They get really complacent, and then you surprise them with that 6th player, and they're just like, whoa!
Yeah. And, I mean, if you're...
I thought he disconnected.
If you're so good at Torbjorn, you can hit the headshots, man. He hits like a truck, so maybe you just surprise them. They're not used to the timing of his left. Like, who knows? But for Flashlux, let's see what they want to run here. They're going to pop Veil onto the Widowmaker. Probably stick with it for a little while here, at least to get some information. And then it's probably going to be the 2-2-2 afterwards.
We're seeing it pushed further and further, the Widowmaker on this. At first, when we started seeing it, back in the promotion tournament, it'd be go for that opening shot, you don't find anything, swap off. But we have been seeing them play a bit more forward, up over towards like movie theater around the statue. It seems like Veil is just going to be using that classic one-hit swap, so it doesn't find anything. We'll just be operating back in over on that Tracer.
It's going to be Twilight on the Ana here. So no surprises, no shockers on the side of CONBOX Spirit here either.
Yeah, otherwise it's just going to be the 2-2-2 like we just saw there on Well. So no real swap-ups coming through as Flashlux go in for the push already. But wrapping around from the backside, trying to get some hits in onto Overwatch. Shuriken's not exactly flying straight in true form though, so doesn't find too much. Now Bell wrapping around as well, goes low. See Gamsu just zapping him to death.
Feels like Sleepy Bear is forced to pop his defense matrix way too early sometimes, and so they keep ending up taking a lot of damage to their supports in the backline because he's not there to protect them.
He goes really low to keep himself alive, and Kisu
Architect
gets
gets a
taken out.
deflect kill again onto Kiso, it looks like. I mean, this just keeps happening. This may just be a very early cap as they get the dive off, not even having to use any of the ultimate combos. It's a pretty easy first push here.
CONBOX are holding strong at the moment. It was nearly that first hit coming through for Flash Lux on the push, but they did build up quite a many few ultimates. Modern going to be the furthest one behind at the moment, other than Wiso. So 70% having that Primal Rage could be very crucial for him. You can see Gamsu at the moment operating at 95, so he's going to have that one ready. Speaking of him, that's going to be the Primal Rage pop there as the Nano Boost does wear off. Finding too many targets, does leap forward here right at the end, pushing all the way up towards the spawn, smacks Wiso back in towards his team to try to finish him off. They don't quite get the kill. He should be able to kite back into the point.
At least they made him use the Primal Rage this time. He's been pretty much just nano boosting it naturally, just vanilla every time. This time Flash Lux will actually have that combo though I was talking about with the Dragon Blade, the Sound Barrier, and Transcendence. So this could be the big push they're looking for. See, Bale's trying to find an angle to perhaps knock Gamsu out of the fight because he knows he doesn't have Primal Rage.
You see that this is actually buying CONBOX a lot of time because they never finished off Wiso. He's at 77% to get back into his mech because he didn't want to go back in, swap off, and swap back onto the Diva to lose his ultimate charge. So this is actually so much time that Wiso is operating without his mech.
Yeah,
so there's no push really possible without that for Flash Lux. He'll finally get back in, has 87%, so you can see why he didn't want to sacrifice it. But really good communication by CONBOX to not kill him.
They want to do a 6-man ult. Okay, here comes Fleta's Dragon Blade. This is the idea, but he's already taken out immediately by Gamsu. And this is a huge, huge issue. Self-destruct is going to get popped.
They just burn him down. Wiso will go down this time. They don't want to leave him alive for too much longer. They get Kisu right off the backside of that, and suddenly it's 1 minute and 15 seconds left for Flash Lux to try to finish this push. McFleta, finding one opening kill, draws at the Dragon Blade, and Gamsu's just sitting there on his tail, so there's just nothing really that they could do.
Gamsu's going to have his Primal Rage soon, and all they really have in terms of initiate is going to be Wiso's self-destruct. He's got it. He's spent so much to get it.
Goodbye.
See you later, Bale. Oh, it's going to really delay this push, too. He's going to have to use it well. I mean, he wanted it so badly, held it a bit longer. Will it be worth it in the end? Okay, there's the kill onto Architect. This could be an opening with everyone respawn. They might just want to go for it.
Even then, I don't know if that's going to be enough. They still have Gamsu, who's nearly get the Primal Rage. They have plenty of time that they can be bought with this Sound Barriers. It does come down from OVERWATCH, tossing that one out, just trying to play Flash Lux. They'll pop their own Sound Barriers. They start pushing through. Don't have too many DPS ultimates, just Veils as they do toss out. Doesn't find the stick, but Modern actually finds Sleepy Bear, knocks him out of the mech, and does take him out. Now OVERWATCH being threatened on the backside as the Tracer and the Winston go deep to try to finish him off, but Architect finds the double kill, getting rid of both of the supports for Flash Lux, halting this push yet again at 1 tick. CONBOX Spirit looking for that full hold here on point A with just 10 seconds left, still coming up with these kills to delay to get those staggered respawns coming through. They finish off Fleta right at the end. It's going to be a full-on pile in from Flash Lux if they can keep their hopes alive. They start jumping through.
Wiso's trying.
Out of the point already, out of the mech rather, gets taken out. Overtime ticking down as Modern is able to leap forward, but still
just
so
staggered.
hopeless for them. Leaps up, pops that Primal Rage, trying to keep the hopes alive as long as possible. Fleta going down, Eunice as well. Modern gets taken out, self-destruct to zone them off the point if there was anybody there to try to contest it. And CONBOX Spirit still just outclassing Flash Lux, come up with that full hold on point A.
That self-destruct, the last nail in the coffin there. A lot of delay tactics there, as you mentioned, and the commitment to trying to stay alive on the Diva. And basically, CONBOX said, sure, keep your baby Diva. Really bought them a lot of time. The Fleta Dragon Blade was not very useful there. And again, it just feels like Gamsu is doing twice as much as Modern. We had that one really good fight where Modern actually waited until the bubble was down to actually come in with the self-destruct, but even that wasn't enough. Vale did some extra damage with that pulse bomb, but with all tools available to them, and they had a lot. They popped the Dragon Blade too early, they came back without it. Just felt like Flash Lux was super disjointed, and despite the fact that they had that timeout, that tactical pause to get themselves back together, and kind of psyched up, if you will, for this next game. It just feels like there's some nerves here, and it's already a tough opponent like CONBOX, but just don't feel like they're playing even as well as we saw them play in the promotional tournament. And we keep referencing the promotion tournament because it feels like that's where Flash Lux showed their best play, and the big question is, was it just because the rest of the teams in promotions were weaker? And some would have argued otherwise, but have to kind of shake your head at it when you see Flashlucks underperforming here.
I mean, their best hope on paper for finding a victory was against MVP Space in their first game, and that was an 0-3 loss for them. Looked, pretty much completely absent from that. And again, it just came down to Fleta and Vale not able to outclass the likes of Yaki and OneFact. And now there's just struggling across the board. Like, nobody on the side of Flashlucks is really having too strong of a game. Fleta having a couple moments there with the Genji, getting a couple kills, but then usually gets picked off immediately right after that. So we haven't seen that massive impact Genji performance from him. Right now, he's going to be operating in onto that Roadhog, actually. So it's going to be that triple tank coming through from the side of Flashlucks with just Vale on DPS. So Fleta needs to be extremely accurate with these hooks, needs to lock down the DPS members of CONBOX Spirit if they want to have
Kamsu's
this.
rolling with this, man.
Okay, finally.
Okay, he's got the barrier up here. They're going to try to look for an angle. Asher is trying to snipe, and Architect is just going to fly behind this triple tank. Vale's not going to be able to do much at all with the Tracer here. They may want to even consider a switch as soon as he dies. This is going to be tough,
This
man.
is one of the most interesting comps that we've seen so far, actually, with just Kamsu coming through with that solo tank. And already Vale gets taken out. The Helix Rockets from Sleepy Bear finds him, and now Architect firing away from above. This concussive blast does take him out to safety, and Fleta gets taken down by Asher on that. Widowmaker firing away yet again, has that direct shot in onto Kisu. They take him out. 33%, all that CONBOX need, and they should be able to get it right here.
I mean, this
the
is just
effective team wipe.
disastrous.
It's just going to be Vale dashing, and they can't do a damn thing.
I mean, wow, that I don't even want to try to tell you guys that's real, like that's a strat. I mean, it worked out
It
really
is
well.
now.
It is now, but look, Vale was the solo DPS, so even if CONBOX Spirit was really just trying to show fan service, the reality was, with that push, is that Vale couldn't do anything against the shields coming out from the Orisa, the Pharah in the sky, and Fleta's trying to grab hooks, trying to right-click her down, but Architect just flew over and carried that fight.
Yeah, you have no real threat with Vale just, using his pistols from the ground to get rid of the Pharah. Even the Widowmaker can just operate on a high ground where it's difficult to get the wraparound because you have to go, through everybody on CONBOX Spirit to actually get over towards him.
Yeah.
That was just, we wanted to see the Orisa. Kamsu says, screw it, we only need 33%. What are the odds that we don't get this push? I'll bring it out. And
It was
just stomped them.
It was just messy there. That I worried for Flashlucks after that first point. When they brought out the Roadhog, this solo DPS, quote-unquote, with the Tracer, I was like, well, this is not going to be good, and CONBOX Spirit just happened to have the counter here. Let's watch Asher. We didn't see his first-person view, but he is going to have play of the game here, given some room to work with. She finds an angle here on the side, and no one's touching him.
Yeah, he just gets rid of the Roadhog. He'll take a nice little ride up. And probably sounds like he got the baby diva. We didn't quite see the clip though. Unfortunate.
Well, I mean, this is disastrous for Flashlucks. If they were feeling down in the dumps, they certainly are going to be now after losing to that Orisa Pharah push. No mercy, just and quite literally no mercy from the side of CONBOX.
Yeah.
So as we go into our 2-point capture, which is, by the way, Flashlucks' worst map type at 1-8 in recent games. You really have to worry for them. They do have map choice here. But we are going to take a short commercial break and see if during that break Flashlucks can get it together. This is a rough start to this first best of 5 here. We'll be back in just a few with our third game.
봄꽃책에서 듣다. 있는 그대로 맑고 깨끗하게 피어나라고 겨울을 이겨낸 봄꽃이 내게 말했다. 맑고 깨끗한 칠성사이다.
노력은 선수를 만들고 코어 i7 프로세서는 멈추지 않는 파워를 드립니다.
Welcome back, Apex fans. If you're a Flashlux fan, times feel dire now as they are 0-2, and even Envious is watching in the crowd.
Told you, it's the Envy waiting room.
Envy waiting room, man. They're just waiting here in the studio.
Raring to go, get themselves into the booths, and honestly, they probably don't have to wait too much longer. It's been 50 minutes since the broadcast began. Even with the intros, reviewing groups and everything, it's still been a very swift best of 5, and it looks like CONBOX Spirit are going to close this out with a very quick 3-0.
And now, where do you go as Flashlux here? You're playing against Twilight Sombra on 2-point capture.
You go home.
Feels like it, man. But look, you're playing against Twilight Sombra. You go to Hanamura or Volskai, you're going to have a bad time. Even on Anubis, I mean, Hanamura's their worst by far, but it's their most picked. And
let's go again!
They're just going to do this back-to-back Kings Row, 1-5, Hanamura 0-4, and they still feel confident to roll it here. I guess, you know, if it didn't work the first 4 times, maybe the 5th time's the charm, and perhaps,
look,
you know,
I don't know if I would say that anything that Flashlux is doing is that it's backed by confidence. I think that right now it's just kind of frantic desperation. This is the thing that they picked in their set against MVP Space, so it's the thing that they played most recently outside of scrims. So they say, okay, we got to go back to Hanamura.
I mean, part of everything is knowing what you're good at, but oftentimes more than that is knowing what you're bad at, what your weaknesses are, where your weaknesses lie. And
what if you're good at being bad and bad at being good?
That's too complicated for me, Achilleos. Let's see if they can bring themselves back in this series, or if this is going to be one of our fastest best of 5s here in Apex Season 3.
I get it. Well, the Flashlux fans are definitely feeling about as live as the team has looked right now.
Yeah, I think the cheer that I mostly heard was actually just for Spletta specifically, which is understandable.
Yeah, you know, he's got a lot of fans.
Definitely some Gamsu fans in here as well.
Yeah.
The former League Pros gone Overwatch is playing an amazing Winston tonight, and I really have to keep giving him credit because he's playing a much better Winston than Modern. His Primal Rage use has been much more conservative. He's always got it paired there with Twilight's Nano. Twilight's teasing us with the Sombra. Probably play it on point B more than the point A. Not as many health packs to work with here on the first point.
Oporochi. But it seems like actually Oporochi is going to be sticking with this.
Yeah, he's going to play it for real.
All right, so Twilight swaps back over onto the Ana, so it's actually going to be this pseudo-quad DPS with the Torbjorn coming through, Sleepy Bear over on Soldier Asher on that Tracer, and then Architect on the Genji. So really aggressive composition here from the side of CONBOX Spirit. Can be easily punished, maybe not by the likes of Flashlux, who have been having wavering performances so far in this set and in the season, but if they can open up, especially get that Torbjorn taken down early on, then that could give them a big window to get onto the point.
What interesting with the approach with Soldier on attack here. Obviously, you're going to have the low ground disadvantage when you do this against Sleepy Bear here, but he does actually give up that position. Miso just kind of a one-trick diva tonight, trying to make it work this time. So Overwatch is already getting the kill on Kisu with a left click, I believe, and this is just a disastrous first push. They're going to have to reset. Kisu does get the kill onto Architect at least.
They find one, but getting shut out two there, especially having Kisu go down, is going to be pretty damning for them. And it's not like Architect didn't pick up much. I mean, he still had over 50% on that Dragon Blade. Miso was jumping off the side there, Fleta following suit. So they give up on that push, not even going to really step onto the point once at all. Bale still hovering around in the back.
Basically the Lemmings reset where everyone just rocks and jumps off the side.
Look at this Tracer build right now. 30% for Vale on that pulse.
I know, it's pretty pitiful. It's like, it's actually a lie too. The top said 30, but the bottom said 29. What does it mean?
We're being lied to.
Yeah. Well, he's going to look for a flank here. He's laid low for so long. They actually think they can do this. They get the pick on Asher. Sleepy Bear is the target here. He's already immediately dropped down his biotic field, though. And Vale just can't get the pick 1v1 there even. Not a good sign here for the duels. Flashlux does find an angle here, though, on the high ground from the outside.
He was really low. Gamsu, though, going to be the recipient of that nano boost. Gets taken out immediately. Vale finds him. Discord coming through from Kisu just makes him a very prime target, and they actually spill their way in onto the point.
Oh, the turret survived a little bit longer there. The Molten Core popped here. Oporochi is doing work.
Yeah, he's trying to pick off where he can. Architect did take out Kisu. So that sound barrier come through from Unis. They try to stick onto the point. Looks like they will just have this cap. Last second contest does come through there from Asher as he just dashes in, but recalls off immediately. So surprisingly, Flashlux do get this cap, and that's going to be a very nice one for them. Don't have too many ultimates in the bank at the moment to try to really snowball this in for the second point, but 6 minutes to work with is going to be very good for them.
Yeah.
They need every single second, every minute that they have on that clock.
The key really was Gamsu got the nano boost, but he didn't actually pop his Primal Rage. We were talking about how it's good he waits really long oftentimes to pop that, but this time just a little bit too slow on the draw. Died before he could actually use it. If he had used that there, they would have lived a lot longer and perhaps would have been able to mount the defense with the turret being replaced. But as it is, Flashlux just looking to do some eco shoves here and grab some percentage. Ash looking for the pick here. It could be a double. Oh, the Transcendence is used to save him.
Yeah, they draw it out, but that means that it's not going to be up really for the push in onto the point, so they go ahead and they draw that one out. Primal Rage now going to be used by Gamsu. Still has the Discord Orb, but still going to be very tanky with all of that HP. They try to get a bit of damage through in onto him as Fleta sprints away. Very angry scientist chasing him down. Makes it out safely, but that push gets taken out yet again here from the side of Flashlux. Can't find much.
Vale is playing with fire right now, just wants to build up another pulse bomb, but this has just been a dominant defense here from CONBOX once we get to the second point, and the switch is on. Oporochi going to be on the more normal Lucio here.
The thing is, they do have, because they have so much time, like they can't afford these eco pushes, they just need to not be using so much. So having actually Kisu force out the Transcendence is really big for CONBOX Spirit. So that's a nice takeaway, but Flashlux still do have plenty of time they can use to just work back in, try to build up these ultimates and go for that all-in shove.
Yeah, you could think of a move like that as basically just time burned off the clock, and they do have Transcendence halfway built up again, but this is so annoying as they just try to poke their way forward. wondering if we'll see Twilight switch actually onto the Sombra. He's going to drop down the Nano onto Architect here. How many can he get? He's in perfect position here in the hallway. He's doing so much damage. Doesn't get them very many kills, but so much damage was done.
Yeah, he finds Kisu, but you know, that sound barrier coming through from Unis really just helps absorb all of that damage coming through. He was taken solo, had to dash out to safety, didn't get a heal, and was taken down in the end. So only that single pickup coming through for Architect. He's actually going to change things up now, bringing out the Widowmaker, and already finds a hit. Takes out Fleta on that high ground.
And I'll tell you, Fleta not expecting that one. Just wanted to wait for Sleepy Bear to lose his defense matrix there to drop the... Just a one-off.
Wow. All right, well, you know, can afford that swap because he didn't have any ultimate built up.
Well, he wanted to... What Fleta wanted to do was break that Diva mech so that he could drop the attack visor to look for several picks there, but just killed immediately, cut down in his prime, and yet again these small edges, the wasted ults for CONBOX don't mean as much when Flashlux has to constantly reset. Fleta still has, of course, that attack visor. Wiso actually going to aggressively look for perhaps a self-destruct here. Not a good angle.
See the majority of the team wraps around the backside here.
Double
Pulse bomb
pulse!
from Asher! Finds the stick, it's Fleta and Kisu. He does it yet again. Second time we've seen that from him. Once on Ilias, now on Hanamura. This lines it up perfectly, and again, every single time you get those multiple picks, it just buys you so much time off of the enemy time bank. So Asher doing some solid work there.
I mean, I feel like Wiso definitely out of position for that one, and he's just been so heavily harassed, and he's been actually really aggressive. Part of the reason why that happened is because he didn't have T-Matrix, because he was being aggro, as he's doing a little bit right now. Every time you use a defense matrix energy like this, though, you're not going to have to defend your teammates when things get bad. Gonna look for a
shove
big
out.
Shove, yeah, not going to drop self-destruct. Wants to wait to pair that with the rest of his team.
Yeah, they didn't get the Primal Rage out of Gamsu, still fighting on the backside there. Modern, popping his Primal Rage as well, jumps down in onto the point alongside Wiso. Trying to build this up.
Nano.
Yeah, comes through in onto Architect, draws out that blade. Can he find it? Fleta already going down as Gamsu finishes him off, dashes down in behind, finds Kisu, gets rid of Unis that last slash. And Flashlux are just yet again going to be halted, not able to get pretty much any percentage build up for them.
And basically everything was used for them too. Fleta actually not now having the attack visor anymore. He's going to have to build that. You know, he has 100 seconds of time to work with to maybe get one more, but the delayed Wiso respawn now, all these things so frustrating as Architect is just looking to farm up another one here. Modern with a switch over actually to the Reinhardt. They're going to make a stairway push here this time, perhaps try to get an Earth Shatter. It just feels like desperation at this point.
Yeah. I mean, it's just percentage at a time every time the shurikens go through from Architect. So already at 42% for another Dragon Blade. A couple ultimates are here for the side of Flashlux, but it's really going to be delay tactics, the self-destruct, the sound barrier coming through for them. But already Fleta actually off-screen going to get taken down by the Biotic Grenade as Twilight finishes him off.
Oh, it's so disastrous. Oh, looking for another pick here. Not actually going to get it this time. Modern actually falls off the side as they have to reset. Another desynced respawn here. Looking for the pick on the Veil, and Asher's going to help get it with the Biotic Grenade to help finish things off. And I mean, what else can you ask for here for CONBOX? Desyncing the spawns once again, this time with the Tracer. And 40 seconds left. They're going to have to go for a Hail Mary. They're not going to have the attack visor. They're not going to have that Earth Shatter they were looking for. They're going to have a self-destruct and a Nano, and that's about it. Sound barrier too.
Yeah, I mean, you're nearly looking at 6 ultimates here on the side of CONBOX. So this is going to be just such dangerous territory for them.
Okay, here we go. There's the big attempt.
Pulse bomb thrown down. Finds Kisu, can't quite get another double kill, but still gets rid of that Ana. So no threat of that Nano booster coming through. Sound barrier thrown down by the likes of Flashlux as they try to spill in onto the point, trying to desperately get some percentage here for themselves. Won't find much to. So far, Twilight goes low veil, trying to finish him up. Biotic Grenade keeps him alive. Meanwhile, on the other side of the fight, Fleta and Modern have both been taken out.
Gamsu held on to that Primal Rage. He still has it here as a huge delay tactic.
And
Looks like he won't need it.
Yeah, he's not going to need it. They go ahead, they finish off the team. Nobody alive to get back onto the points. The hold at point B, not a single percentage coming through from the side of Flashlux on that point. Surprisingly fast take on point A. You know, CONBOX Spirit, they went with a very interesting strategy, going with the Torbjorn with the Ana, and then having the triple DPS on top of that. They got punished very quickly, did suffer for it, but they are able to hold on. Now just need that 33% on point B to take this set into 3-0.
Yeah, and it looks very likely they'll be able to do so. Now they're working with their playstyle. This is exactly CONBOX's very strongest composition, the heavy dive, the attack. And I've been watching Gamsu all the time in these big aggressive team fights, and if he has the nano, he just doesn't Primal Rage, and he saved the Primal Rage even to the last second there. As Flash looks just, everything they were doing, it just felt like they just threw even the kitchen sink in. Like, Wiso's self-destruct wasn't paired with anything, it was at a bad angle, and Vale dropped down a Pulse Bomb, it didn't really do much for them either. Just trying to find this angle, whereas Architect is never targeted, never harassed. Don't think we're actually going to see Sleepy Bear on the Genji this time, but it would be fun to see, I suppose.
Be very different, very big change of pace for him. But it seems like Modern's actually going to be going forward with this Reinhardt, so Flash Lux maybe looking to go ahead and play forward at the choke in doorway and just try to hold the ground there. But CONBOX, depending on what they operate with, they could just wrap around the left-hand side or just dive straight past that Reinhardt, who just struggles so heavily with the side comps.
As mentioned before, Gamsu's played purely Winston so far in Season 3, whereas Modern has definitely played a lot more Ryan. Still mostly the Winston, but I suppose he feels more comfortable here on the defense of point A. See if this will get broken early by CONBOX. See if Asher's going to commit to this. Looks like he will. Bear on the Tracer. See if he can get the snipes. It's going to be tough with the Reinhardt shield, but he could get an angle.
Techno spotting it. That's going to be the swap back through onto the Genji. Asher popping up. Doesn't find anything yet. Gonna move forward here. It's a nice body shot in onto Fleta. Suffers a little bit of damage from those Helix rockets, but otherwise definitely wins out on that exchange. It's just going to be spilling over into that right-hand flank. Already something in onto the point. Looks like it's going to be Architect there on that Genji, just getting that cap rolling through. Nearly has the first tick as Flashlights suddenly realize this, and they start spilling back in onto the point to try to get that contest coming through. Wiso goes low though, will get popped out of the mech and should be taken out rather swiftly as he does. Comes up with a kill. Now Sleepy Bear just operating around into that backside flank, just taking him out where he can. Finds Modern, and it's just going to be basically the team wipe coming through as Eunice and Fleta desperately try to retreat, but if they go down, if they find these kills, this could very well spill over into a big snowball for the likes of CONBOX Spirit.
He very well could have, and the funny thing about this is Flash looks looked like they were so ready to give it up at the beginning there, and it was totally owned by CONBOX Spirit. Sleepy Bear, we haven't seen him play the Tracer yet today, it was Asher, but in this case he played very well. And then Flash Lux came in at the last second, almost desynced their spawns so badly that it could have been a double cap. This feels like they're really not coordinated tonight. Now Asher with a perfect position to look for some picks here. No one even threatening him at this moment in time. Already looking for the pick here onto Kisa. Will get it. And Dragon Blade's popped off here. Architect may just clean this up.
Yeah, I mean, we just see Architect dashing around in the backside of the fight this entire time as we see it through the eyes of Asher on that Widowmaker. They just swipe right through him, 33%. They got it in, all of it, I believe, 38 seconds, something like that on the clock. They're able to pick it up. They pick up Hanamura, the 3-0. And CONBOX Spirit, they go ahead, they advance their score to a +1.
Well, you've got a player like Sleepy Bear playing off roles, kind of, switching into the Tracer, and he's destroying you. I mean, that's the problem in itself. Just in terms of these two teams, the Winston play was much better, the Tracer play was better. There was just not a whole lot of coordination, it felt like, on the side of Flash Lux comparatively. And both these teams were on the losing side of Group C. But with CONBOX looking this dominant with this 3-0, you can definitely tell who belongs in fourth, you could say. And, I mean, that last map of Hanamura was just brutal.
Yeah. I mean, CONBOX, they try something on defense, they get punished for it. Really just, you'd have to say, not having Gamsu pop that Primal Rage before he went down with an Nano Boost, he could have delayed for so much longer, and that actually could have had them get that full hold, perhaps. But Flashlights, they were able to get that cap. It was very swift for them, plenty of time in the bank, but then still, they just win out, or they lose out, in the mechanical exchange between these two teams. Also, even Fleta and Vale, somebody, two people that we've touted quite heavily in the promotion tournament for being very strong for Flash Lux. They just